The Chicago Bears are just about to get even more draft picks. And with this treasure trove of picks we have in front of us, regardless of this terrible year, there is a possibility that Paul, it can get even richer. And just lay of the land, guys like Albert Breer and Tom Pelissero, they're fairly certain that GM Ryan Poles is going to stay in Chicago, and also that it isn't thought to be a deterrent to any potential candidates. So that's good news. Let's table that, though. What I want to talk about is assistant GM Ian Cunningham. Chances are very high that he's finally going to get a shot at being a GM in the NFL. This could actually benefit the Bears very nicely in the 2025 NFL draft. So there's a discussion among NFL insiders, Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano. They share a collection of intriguing general manager candidates around the league. And I'm going to go straight to the story here on SI.com. This is the time of year, right, when coach and GM candidate names begin surfacing. And in the wake of the news of even Joe Douglas's firing by the New York Jets earlier in the season, right, it totally makes sense that GM candidates now is a hot topic of discussion. And this is here directly from Fowler. Chicago assistant general manager Ian Cunningham, he's been considered a serious candidate in recent years, and that shouldn't change this year despite the Bears' poor record. Hey, you guys, I'm Sean. This is Sports Talk Bears. Please do us a solid here. Hit the subscribe button as we continue to push toward growing this channel to 10,000 subs. Would really appreciate it a ton. So let's keep looking at this here. Where would he most likely land? And I'm going to close down this SI article. Read it in its entirety. It's a great piece. So a main candidate to be his landing spot, I think it might be the Indianapolis Colts. And let's look at this. GM Chris Ballard, I think he's likely done there. And Cunningham, he has ties to head coach Shane Steichen. And they spent time together on the Philly staff back in 2021. I think it could be a really nice fit. He's also been a pretty hot commodity and interviewed extensively last offseason. The time may have come for him. So how will this affect the draft? Well, if he departs Chicago would be compensated handsomely. The NFL has a rule that's specific to minority executives. If one gets hired away to be the GM of another team, the original franchise gets, in the Bears case, 2 third-round draft picks, one this year and one next year. And that's really significant. The Bears would then have a crazy 5 picks in the first 3 rounds of this upcoming draft. And the Bears could end up with potentially the number 8 or 9 pick in the first round. We have 1 game left. For the sake of this post, let's just make that the assumption. So add to that. The Bears are currently in possession of the following day 2 picks. Round 2, pick 37. Round 2, pick 40. Round 3, pick 71. I mean, in other words, the Bears could clean up if they play their cards right with the picks at their disposal. This is a really good piece of news for those of us. I mean, I could use some good news. We really want the Chicago Bears front office to make some strong investments around particularly the offensive line this offseason. And also, I mean, the interior of the defensive line. But let's prioritize the old line. Now, on top of these picks, you add yet another third rounder to that. Pretty attractive to any head coaching candidate that comes to Hallis Hall, right? Pretty great also when you need to build the trenches as well. So let's look at him. Is he really in demand? Don't get me wrong. I don't want to run this guy out of town. He's been an asset, but it'd be really nice to know what the compensation would be. And this is hearkening back to this SI.com story. So a poll of 31 agents, and they were anonymously interviewed by The Athletic, and that was during this season. They said that Cunningham deserved the title of future GM to watch, that he's one of the top candidates to be a general manager this coming year. And he's already been highly sought in the interview processes after the last 2 seasons, but he didn't get hired. The Chargers, the Titans, the Cardinals, all 3 of these teams interviewed Cunningham for the last 2 off seasons for their GM position. And this is here from Cunningham. I just view it as just keep chopping and it'll happen in the right time. And we're looking at Cunningham being the son of a former basketball agent. And he also credits being around Ryan Poles. And in the past, he's worked with Eagles GM Howie Roseman. That's from 17 to 21. Baltimore's Eric DaCosta, Ozzie Newsome, that's really significant, 2008 to 16. And I mean, that has gained him the needed experience in my book. He'd be a strong GM candidate. He also had roles in the Bears trading back in 2023 and still drafting Darnell, right? He talked polls out of trading up and giving away draft compensation to try to select Rome Odunze this year, and Rome Odunze ended up falling to them. So that was a really good move for Cunningham, talking him out of that. And if you look at the Bears after that draft, they had Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, the top two players on their board. And thanks to the intervention of Ian Cunningham, the Bears didn't trade away more draft capital to get him. So as far as getting who they want for the O-line, well, there's lots of pathways in getting that done, and we can talk about that for a moment. The Bears are locked into having a top 10 pick in this upcoming draft. It might get a little better after this last week. That means we very well might have our choice of offensive linemen here. And well before draft weekend gets underway, Chicago's front office, they could add starters. They could add depth pieces in free agency leading up to that. We have a ton of cap space. And even if we're looking at a guy like, Kansas City Chiefs guard, Trey Smith, even if he doesn't make it to free agency, if he does, we have to pounce on him. The Bears could target some other fits during that player acquisition period leading up to the draft. And the vetting and decision-making process, when we're talking about free agent offensive linemen, that needs to get way better. I totally get that. Harkening back to bringing in Nate Davis and also all these bargain basement depth pieces. The Bears have to get better at that. But in the end, the Bears are really well positioned, make significant improvements along both lines. Via over the cap, the team is projected to have almost $83 million in cap space. That's available cap space. That ranks number 5 in the NFL, Sorry, I'm getting over a sickness here. And looking at that cap space, looking at the state of the present line, pretty much anyone that comes in, the Bears can offer a clear path to playing time at both guard spots and center. And that's presuming that Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, that we're not going to re-sign those two guys before free agency opens in March at least. So, and we're also looking at a little review here. This is all of our capital. We've got almost $83 million in cap space. That's number 5 in the NFL. And kind of looking at the current forecast for this upcoming draft, we're talking 3 picks in the top 40. Number 9, number 37, and 40. Really nice. 4 picks in the top 75 total. Number 71 is ours too. Now, possibly add that extra third this year and in 2026 if Cunningham gets snatched away. Happy New Year, you guys. It's really hard to get used to saying 2025. I hope you and your loved ones are blessed in this upcoming year, and we'll continue talking about Bears football on a day-to-day basis. You guys bear down. Try to enjoy this Green Bay game. Hopefully we can play spoiler there. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but anything's a possibility. You guys, we'll talk soon. See ya.